Stay Sane with Jane, the show that helps you and your business to thrive, not just survive. Tune in each week as Jane connects with guests in the wellness, business and publishing worlds, bringing you the most up-to-date training, techniques, healing and guidance for growth, mindset and motivation. Each session includes a magical guided meditation led by Jane or one of her special guests. Here's your host, Jane Scanlon. Hello and welcome to this week's podcast, episode 24. Today we're interviewing Kirsty Dee, an intuitive emotional wellness mentor. For those looking to create positive changes in their lives. And basically that means that she works with humans to support them in creating a great relationship with themselves and those they love. That sounds amazing. She's also the host of Truth and Transformation podcast, as well as running events for Mind, Body and Soul in Dorset. She loves the outdoors life, is a wife, has a tween and a teen, and is a lover of the beach. And welcome. It's so great to have you here, Kirsty.
Oh, thank you, Jane. It's so great to be part of this and to be on the podcast. Thank you.
Pleasure. So tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Who is Kirsty Dee?
So I'm somebody that has always felt a lot, really from a very young age. I was, what you would call sensitive and could feel a lot. And I just found life very hard and very overwhelming, and then had trauma as growing up. So I have been doing this work for a really long time. I'm 37 now. I started when I was 17 as a holistic therapist. It was a thing that I did when I left school because I was like, if anybody feels the way I do, if I could just do something to help. And I've always been called to the more holistic spiritual side of things because growing up with somebody who had trauma and did struggle a lot of the traditional things didn't help. So they would send me to counseling or to psychiatric different things, and a lot of it was more traumatizing than helpful. And it's not that those things aren't amazing and can't help, of course they do, but I needed something that was
it's
a
not
lot more
one size fits all, is
it? So that was obviously, as I say, 20 years ago, and I actually ended up getting diagnosed with complex PTSD. And that was actually because I'd actually went for a diagnosis to see if I had ADHD. And what they basically said is, we can't diagnose that because of your past trauma. You definitely show up in that way in a lot of ways, but we need to look at this. So it's just kind of evolved since then of here's been my journey, here's been my experience, here's what's worked for me, and just been doing that for, as I say, 20 years in various different things. I had a fitness community, and that obviously really helped because we know exercise and stuff really, really helps. But what I realized is I could get into really good shape, those things would help me feel better, but if I didn't like myself, then not a lot was really going to change, and that would really impact my relationship. So I really went on this journey of how can I like myself? How can I create really good relationships? Because obviously we're an interdependent species, and I actually think so much of our trauma is because done in relationships, and not necessarily intentionally, but because we need each other. And I think we have a society where it doesn't kind of often honor everybody being different and everybody being unique. So I really do a lot of work.
There's certainly not a space for everybody.
Especially you look at school systems, and workplaces. So I connect them all together. I really work on people's emotional wellness and what's coming up for them, and then their relationships, because I really think they are so linked. Like, I know me growing up, society wasn't set up for me, the school system wasn't set up for me. And then actually now I've got a teen and we've been going through it again, and then seeing how much it's still not even now set up. And I just think that's why so many people are struggling. So yeah, that's everything I do is around your emotions, your resistance, what's that telling you? Because I think everything changes when you start digging into that. And because we're emotional beings, you know, we're not designed to be robots. We're designed to feel and connect with each other. And I just think it doesn't get talked about enough. And I just think it's a game changer.
Wouldn't it be fabulous if there was more of an emotional well-being curriculum in schools, teaching our children how to cope, and how to
Absolutely.
do relationships? Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be
I
just
feel like it's coming. I'm hoping it's coming. I do feel like, so I'm also into like, you know, the astrology and all the woo side of things, and I actually think there is a shift coming. And I actually think a lot of our teens and children are here at the moment to almost break down school systems. You know, like, I feel like a lot of
yeah,
them aren't coping, and they're not coping because it actually makes sense that they're not coping, because these systems aren't set up for everybody. And I sometimes think that sometimes these things, you know, reveal to us that things have to change. And I think that's kind of like what we're in at the moment. Like, we're seeing that some of the ways that schools are set up and stuff, and it's not because of, like, it's not the teacher's fault or anything. It's like much higher, like, governments and things set up, you know,
yeah,
they've got
completely.
things that they have to follow. And I really do think that there's a generation going on now that are just, they're here, and they're here to do like really great things, and like be like, these systems don't work for everybody. And I think it's hard being in it. But I also feel it's, yeah, exciting, because some of these things don't work. And I think if we want to have healthy relationships with ourselves and each other, we need that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to like seeing how, you know,
The
what
different
happens.
changes that are
Yeah,
coming up. Yeah.
and it's
Um,
going to take time, you know, but it's coming for sure.
yeah. It's interesting you said, the way you started in this field, the holistic field, because
Hmm.
pretty much everybody I interview, including myself, we all came through because we had trauma, and we didn't want to go down, or the usual route didn't work, or we didn't want to go down the usual route.
Hmm.
And then we all kind of, for me, I tried lots of different therapies, and the ones that I really loved and really worked for me, I've ended up training, and then
Yeah.
that's part of my business, and I help other people release trauma or pain or stress through those same therapies.
Hmm.
So you've told us a little bit about how you have started in this holistic and wellbeing industry.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah. So my big thing is, I mean, I do a lot of stuff around inner child healing, inner teen healing. Um, the big thing that I like to get across to people is that your emotions are always like telling you something. There's a reason you feel the way that you do, even if it doesn't make logical sense on an emotional level. And if you think about how our brain isn't designed to make us happy, it's designed to keep us alive. So everything that we're thinking, feeling, experiencing
Yeah.
makes sense on some level. So that's kind of the real work that I do with people, is to get people to look at and to really get radically honest with, like, what am I feeling? Am I feeling stressed? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling angry? Like what are you feeling? And to actually, you know, be with that, and to embrace that, and realize that there is nothing, like, you're not broken, you don't need fixing, that you are innately enough. And to just give ourselves so much more love and compassion, and grace, because I think often, you know, when we're struggling, or if there's something we want, or if there's something we desire, and the reason we want the things we desire is because we think in having it, you know, we'll feel better or we'll feel less pain. So I kind of go straight there. I'm like, what is the thing that you're afraid of? Like, what is the pain? What is the thing there? And like, what do you need? Like, I'm really like focused on what somebody needs, and it will be, everybody needs something different.
Mm-hmm.
And how can we like work with that? Because what I noticed is the same patterns and the same things will come up again and again and again until we address that. So I'm big on like, let's look at getting you regulated, which doesn't mean you'll feel calm all the time. It means as in being able to make decisions and have choices and live in a way that actually, you know, is well for you. So we look at that. And I think for me, a lot of, especially in the spiritual field, which I love, like I consider myself as like, you know, very like spiritual person, but I call myself like a practical witch. I don't know if you can say, I keep
Yeah.
touching this, it keeps going off, so that's what I'm doing. Keeps been doing that. But like sometimes it's kind of like it can cause us to suppress emotions, because it's like, okay, I need to feel this way so that like I manifest this thing. And actually, I think what can happen is if we keep pushing down how we feel and we don't address it, it's just going to keep coming up. It's going to keep coming up. So I'm very much on like, what's coming up for you. Let's be with that. Let's get right to the root of that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something really powerful in doing that, in honoring all your emotions, all your feelings, and realizing that they all make sense. However you're feeling makes complete sense, even if it doesn't logically make sense, in the
Yeah.
ways that your body is designed, and it all makes sense.
Yeah, we have to honor what comes up, don't we? And what
Mm-hmm.
I try and teach my daughter is that all emotions are valid. You know,
Yeah.
we often put the more perceived negative emotions, anger, etc., into the let's not do that pile.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it's perfectly normal and valid emotion to have and to express. And I think when we suppress our emotions or try and express them in a certain way to please somebody
Mm-hmm.
else,
Yeah.
you know, that's where a lot of kind of almost self-inflicted trauma, but it's
Yeah.
also learnt, isn't it? It's learnt
Excellent.
behaviours.
It's learning to be with those in a way that's not going to be harmful for you or harmful for
Harmful
anyone
for the
else. If we've
other.
never
Yeah.
learned, we're just going to like push it down. And you know, the emotions are, and I think a lot of us are like frightened of, say, anger or rage, because we believe it's bad because somebody was angry and they did something, but actually it wasn't to do with them being angry. I mean, they were angry, but it was the the way they kind of, I guess, kind of like the entitlement. So if somebody does something, you know, really awful, it's not the anger that did that. It was their kind of like way of, you know, the rampant entitlement of like, I'm angry, so I can just do what I want. And
Mm.
actually, the anger, so we learn to be afraid of things like anger or rage because we associate it with that. But actually, anger, rage is actually just a perfectly healthy human emotion that you're going to experience at times, and it is a GPS, and we don't need to be afraid of it. It's actually learning to be like, okay, what is this telling me? And it could be like, I need to have a boundary here, or this isn't situation isn't for me. And often I think what doesn't get talked about enough is anger, you know, that kind of like fight response can actually be used in a really, really healthy way to literally change your life. You know, you can use that anger to kind of advocate for yourself, as, you know, activism for yourself, where, you know, you go from, say, fawning, and you kind of like work your way up, and then you go into a fight response that doesn't have to be this awful thing. It can actually be the kind of motivation that goes, I need to set a boundary with this in-law or whatever it is, But what a lot of us do is we suppress and go, I shouldn't feel this way. And we kind of make it wrong because we see
Mm.
somebody else and they're not impacted by that thing. They don't get angry about that thing, but that's because they're not you. So it's how we channel it. You know, somebody could get angry and then go into this rampant entitlement of like, I'm just going to bulldoze everybody's boundaries and I don't care who I hurt, you know, in the process. But I kind of think if anybody's listening to this, that's not you. You know? I kind of think those people don't show up here. They're the kind of people that want to use the anger and in a way that's good for them and the people around them. So
Mm.
then I say to people, don't be afraid of your anger, your rage, your sadness, your grief, your frustration. Let's actually learn to use that inner resistance in a way that's actually going to be so incredibly good for yourself, where you're going to feel better. Because I always say to people, there's this book that I love. I don't know if you've read it, Jane, but I think it's called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And that's what I always say to people, because wherever you go, you are there. So
Yeah.
that relationship with yourself matters so much. And I just kind of think it's like that cliche thing that we sometimes hear of like, you know, would you, you know, somebody you love, would you tell them they're wrong to feel that way? You know, and it's that thing of like treating yourself like you would treat a friend. Like whenever my friends are like upset or angry or frustrated, I'm not telling they shouldn't feel this way. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And we often forget to do that with ourselves. And I think when we do that, everything changes. The relationship with ourselves changes, but then other people, because we can use all those emotions and all those feelings to be like, okay, this is coming up in a relationship, this is telling me something. So as I say, if anger's coming up, it's saying there's something I need here, and it could be around like boundaries, or a relationship's not good for you, or it could potentially be very good for you, but there needs to be some tweaks. And that those emotions are going to keep coming up
Mm-hmm.
until we like face that, and we often don't want to face it.
No, I think a lot of the time you get repeated lessons, and I think we can
Mm-hmm.
all agree on that. No, whether you agree in the holistic side of things or not, but if you look back on your life, you will see repeated patterns, and I really feel like they are the lessons we're here to learn and embodied. And once you embody
Yeah,
lessons, then those situations will stop showing up in your
yeah.
life. What I've found and what I've seen in clients is once the lessons learned, the kind of universe does give you that situation about 3
Mm-hmm.
times just to make sure
Have
your
they got this?
boundaries are
Yeah.
strong, right? Are you sure you've learnt it? Are you sure you're going to change your behaviour, your responses? And once those kind of 3 lessons are up, it's kind of plain sailing for that, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, very much testing boundaries. So tell me a little bit about your podcast, your Truth and Transformation podcast, and then we'll go into a little bit about the Mind, Body, and Soul events as well.
Yeah. So actually, the podcast is a very interesting story. Actually, so my big thing is you living your truth, which you know will evolve and will change, but you living authentic to you, which basically means just living honest to yourself. And the I wanted to do a podcast for for quite a while, and then it was literally so I'm bisexual, and I hid that for a long time because I had like fears around telling people that. And I was like, okay, and I thought, if I'm doing this work and I'm telling people to to live their truth and to have relationships where they can be authentic to themselves, and yet there's this part of me that I'm hiding away. And it's not that
Mhm.
you have to share your sexuality with the world, or that you're defined in that way, but I knew for me I didn't I didn't want it to be something that was hidden. I wanted
Yeah.
something that I could be like, this is a part of me and I'm not hiding it anymore, and I'm proud of it. And I thought, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to share this. And I actually just came through, it was almost like a download from spirit. And it was like, do a podcast episode on this. And I hadn't started my podcast yet, so that was like my first episode, and it was it took me about 13 minutes. Like the episode's still up there, and like I was like crying, and I couldn't actually come out with the words and say I'm bisexual. I couldn't say it. So that's how it got birthed, and then it's just been, and that was in 2020. And then it's been since then. We're now on season 4 of just me sharing, my experiences of actually what it takes to like walk this path of living your truth. So whether it's like your in-laws don't get it, or a friend doesn't get it, or people on the school run, it's really transforming your life in that way. And yeah, it's just evolved since then. And now on season 4, we've got a series. It's called What the Fuck Truths, and it's actually with my husband, and we're basically sharing things that have like come up in our marriage, in raising a teen, and it's just a very vulnerable, honest conversation about all the things that we struggle with, because I actually think that's one of the ways we heal, by actually realizing we aren't alone. And yeah, so it's just evolved since then, and I just do episodes, and it'll be talking about managing emotions or sensitivity, or being diagnosed with complex PTSD, and it's just a very raw, unpolished podcast. It doesn't get edited, like if whether I'm like crying or whatever, it all goes on
in there.
And yeah, I'm really, really incredibly proud of it. And every day I kind of like that first initial episode, I almost want to like take off and be like, oh my gosh, because I was like,
you gotta keep it up.
But no, I never will. I won't ever take it off, because I'm like, no. And I've had people like reach out to me and be like, that episode just helped me so much. And I've had people who have had partners who came out to them as bisexual, and I had one husband email me, and it's like, you just helped us so much, like navigate all of this. And I think that's the beauty in raw conversation, so I'm very proud of it.
We can listen to the Truth and Transformation podcast on Apple Podcasts, also available on Spotify and other podcast hosts.
Yeah. Oh, and even just go on my website, Kirsty Dee, and there's a tab for podcasts. You can listen there, and it'll just choose your favorite one. But yeah, Spotify, Apple, it's on most of them. So
fabulous. And tell us about events, because just before we hit record, we were having a little chat about how it's so important now to have in-person holistic events, and we're all loving it. I started doing my workshops again back in December 2022, and it was so amazing to be back in a room hosting a workshop, facilitating transformation, and allowing, creating space for people to say their truth and heal, and then go out feeling like a new person. And I did another one in January, and then more recently I did a really fun one, which was absolutely not my usual style, but it was basically movement, music, and mindfulness, and I co-hosted it with a local yoga teacher and gong bath practitioner, Viv, and we had such a ball. So let's talk about in-person retreats and workshops and events.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's such medicine. I think there's something that you can't beat by being around people who are also doing this work, who are also, doing like the mind, body, soul approach. So I'm not sure when this is going out, but I've got an event on Saturday. I don't know if this will be out after that, which is I'm doing a trauma-informed manifesting workshop, which I'm really, really excited about. And then in July, I've got an event called Liberated, and it's really, really, how we talked about like working kind of like on a mind, body, soul level, and you talked about patterns repeating and stuff. What this event is, it's actually like looking at the skill sets you need to change your life, because I had this where I would kept hearing people say, you keep repeating the same patterns and the same lessons until you learn the lesson. And I was like,
No, I
but I'm
can't take
trying, I'm
anymore.
trying. I was like, what am I not getting here? And what I realized is actually thriving is actually a skill set. Like
Yes.
healthy, great relationships are actually a skill set, and particularly for somebody who've got trauma and stuff. So, when we talk about things like setting boundaries and stuff, there's a part of your brain that when you've experienced trauma, that doesn't work properly, that shrinks. So when people are saying just set boundaries, some people like literally that it shuts down and they start
Mm,
fawning, and then they feel shame because they're like, why can't I speak up? Why can't I do this?
yeah.
Why can other people set boundaries and I can't? And they start thinking that there's something wrong with them, rather than this all makes sense and how I'm feeling all makes sense based on what's happened. So the event is really around like actually getting those skill sets, and then on a deeper level, grounding into what you actually need so that you're able to do that. And it's just really powerful, and really looking at that, if you're somebody that really, like myself, that actually does care deeply and does feel things and is sensitive and like all of these things. First of all, it's looking at, is that actually true, or is that what the world's like told
Mm.
you? And second of all, I actually realized that yes, there's a lot of projection, there's a lot of conditioning there for me, where the world told me I was all these things and often wasn't necessarily true. But also there is a part of me that does feel deeply, and anybody that's like into the astrology, I realized I was literally designed this way. Like I've got, how you have like, I don't know how much you're into astrology, Jane, but you have like your rising sign, your sun sign, your water sign. All of mine are like in water, which means we
Oh,
feel things
emotions.
deeply.
Yes.
Yeah, like so I'm like all there, and then even down to like my Venus, Mercury, it's all in water. That actually really helped me, knowing that, because I was like, oh, I'm literally designed this way. And what I realized is actually we all are. We're all designed in unique ways. And whether you believe in the astrology or not, I think it is irrelevant. It's just that we are all different. And
Mm.
so for me, the events are all about how can we work with you and your, individuality, and give you the skill sets so that you can actually create the change. Because it's one thing for people to be like, set boundaries, do this, but it's like, okay, but how do I actually do that? And not only
Yeah, a lot of people
how
have
do
to
I
be
do it?
taught how to do that, don't they? Yeah,
How,
100%.
how do I do it in a way that actually works for me, that actually is like nourishing and going to help me? And then what's coming up for you, what needs to be released. So we're doing it 2 days before the full moon, which is just like a really, really powerful time to really, you know, really be like digging into all that work and really doing like some powerful release work. So yeah, I'm
Mhm.
just really excited about it.
Fantastic. And everybody can find all the details on your website,
Yeah,
kirstydee.com. And for future events, everything will be on the website
perfect.
too.
Thank
So tell me about these Mind, Body, Soul events that you help put on. Are you talking the big ones with all of the different
To be
stalls
honest,
there?
everything that I do has like a mind, body, soul approach. So yeah, so basically what I mean is when I say events like mind, body, soul, what I basically mean is I just work on all three levels. So whether it's like I'm working with somebody on a one-to-one, whether it's a workshop, whether it's like a whole day retreat. Next year I want to do, actually looking into maybe doing like a charity event or something where we have other guests and like
Yes.
all the things going on, and you look at these like big events and stuff. But everything I do, it has this like mind, body, soul approach, which what I mean by that is we have to look at and understand how the brain works, and the mindfulness piece to that, because otherwise things don't change. Because as I said, your brain isn't designed to make you happy, it's designed for survival. So
Mm.
unless we work with that intellectual piece, we're going to really struggle to create change. So I always bring that in. But we can also, and particularly people that are, if you identify as somebody that, whether it's from trauma or whatever reason, somebody that overthinks or ruminates, sometimes we can intellectualize so much that we so we don't have to like feel. So I work very much
Mm,
of like, let's look at the mindfulness piece, but then also what is your body like? What do you need? What's going
bringing
on
together.
there?
Yeah.
And then the soul piece for me is, and this is different for everybody. For some people, you know, it'll be identifying with spirituality. For other people, it is just something bigger than yourself. So whether it's like the work you do, the dreams you go for, the things you manifest, whether it's like activism, it's something that actually, you know, takes us from almost, it's that approach of like we've got to go inwards to see what's coming up for us and that authenticity. But it's like if we just stay there, we don't feel good and we don't feel fulfilled, you know, because then it becomes this all about like all of just like accumulating. And I think there's a reason that we know one of our needs is, you know, to serve in some way. And for some people, serving is just a connection to, I say just, there's nothing just about it, but a connection to, you know, the moon or God. And for some people, it's like activism. And for some people, it is doing the kind of work that you do, Jane, where you do something and you're serving other people. But I think there has to be something where it comes not just about you, it becomes about other people, whether that's, you know, the way you're parenting. But there has to be this, like almost this, I call it like soul nourishment, where it is something bigger than yourself. And so I work on all three levels of that because I believe we don't feel fulfilled if we don't do that. But
No.
we just start with
And
step by step.
what would it, who are your kind of the ideal clients for you, and what would it look like working with you?
So the majority of the people I work with are people that identify as women. They're usually people in their 30s, 40s. Usually people that have struggled with their emotional stuff or with boundaries or with what other people think. People that care a lot, that really want to see other people win. They're the people that I work with. They're the people that like I want to work with. They're the people that I love to work with. People that really very heart-centered people that really just care a lot. You know, they feel
Hmm.
things deeply. And I'm not somebody that, you know, some people are just much better at kind of like not worrying what other people think. They're generally not the people that I usually work with. I'm usually working with the people that actually do care, that actually worry, that, you know, feel anxious, but they just know that there's almost like this knowing that some of the ways that things are like set up is not the way for them. And yeah, that's who I work with. That's who I love to work with. Yeah, people who want to see relationships, who are not just here for like the surface level. They want real depth of relationships. They want real deep connection. They want to have
Hmm.
really great relationships, because there's nothing wrong if, you know, if somebody just wants to plod along, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We need people like that. But I'm here for people that are like, no, I really want to have a phenomenal marriage. I really want to have a phenomenal relationship with my kids. I really want to have a great relationship myself, because that's actually not for the faint-hearted. That is going to
Mm.
require you to look at yourself and to look at your patterns and to look at your stuff. So it's the people that are really want to do the deep work, and also
Yeah.
people that need a bit of a like a spiritual approach, not the logical A to Z, because we do like, you know, all the woo stuff as well. So yeah, if
The
the
modern day
conventional stuff doesn't do
witches.
it for you, yeah, the
Yeah.
witches, the star seeds, the people who like manifesting, that's the people that come to me, you know.
Fantastic. And what does it look like? So I've found you on the website or Facebook or Instagram, and I want to work with you. What's it going to look like?
So do you mean like in a group setting or one to one?
Oh, tell me both. Tell me both.
So in a group setting, it's going to be a very it tends to be, we go deep. It's very emotional. It's not uncommon for, and you'll probably know this with your own work, for people to, have a few tears and all of that, because we're doing deep release work and it's not logical. It's very intuitively based. It isn't, it doesn't, it's not logical at all. It is very much, and I would say an emotional experience, but a very nourishing experience. It's very much, so there'll be like structure, I will guide through different things, but it's very, I guess, heart-led is the way that I'm gonna say it. And it's the same if you work with me one-to-one. It is creating a space where it is, safe to be you, and it doesn't matter what you tell me, it doesn't matter what you say to me. It's this place of, you can bring it all here. And that's the spaces that I create, of like bringing people together, that you can share those like vulnerabilities. And I just think we need that. And as I say, it's predominantly usually women, but actually this year I have opened it up. So yeah, it's usually women though. But I kind of realized that if we want to create this kind of like shift in our relationships, we need to also have spaces where people who don't identify as women can also come. And but yeah, it's usually women, and it's just a very loving space. You will feel nurtured, you will feel but if you're looking for something that's very like workshop logical, it's not going to be that. It's going to be more of an emotional,
heart-led,
heart-led,
intuitive, safe
intuitive,
space.
leaning into those sensitive parts of ourselves. It's going to be a very holistic experience.
Fantastic. And have you got any advice or kind of top tips for our audience on how to use their emotions and resistance to move beyond the past and challenges to create a much more fulfilling future and a joyful life?
Yeah, so one of the things that I say to people a lot is, and I always say this, I say this like repeatedly again and again and again, but just for yourself, just remembering how you're feeling makes sense. So I think this is a big thing in validating that. I do a lot of work around, we know a lot of healing happens when we start working with the heart and stuff. So one of the things that I often get people to just get into the habit of like saying to themselves, just putting their hand on the heart and just saying, I've got you, like I'm gonna be there for you, and really building that connection. And then really, and you don't have to do it all at once, but just choose one area, whether it's like you're going to do more mindfulness, whether you're going to do more work around like feeling whatever's coming up for you, and actually working to, because I actually think, people talk about like, feel your feelings, but actually a lot of it's like, I actually don't know how to do that. And then we go into this thinking, and we're trying to like intellectualize all our emotions and stuff. So I say to people, like, just choose one area and know it will add up, and it will build and build and build, and you don't have to know it all now. And actually, when we're trying to know it all now, what we're actually trying to do is we're trying to avoid pain. When we're trying to get it right, when we're trying to work it out, whether it's like we're trying to work out how to manifest or whatever. So I actually had somebody say to me, they were like, Kirsty, I've got a manifesting journal. Like, what do I write in here? What's the first journal?
What do I do next?
What do I do next? And like I said to them, I was like, and it's sometimes not always what people want to hear. But I said, I was like, why don't you journal about trying to get it right, and what you're trying to, like, what's the pain there? And I think, so I often say to people, like look at that, address that, give yourself so much love, and put your hands on your heart and be like, I've got you, like I'm there for you. And just getting into that habit, and it's just something so small, and people have probably heard it before, but I think it can't be underestimated, like how powerful that can be, to just build that relationship with with ourselves of like, I've got you, and just recognizing that whenever we're trying to get it right, we're trying to avoid some sort of fear, some sort of pain. So let's look at that. Let's like hold ourselves in that, I think that's
Yeah.
really, really powerful.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I love that, just putting your hands on your heart and saying, I've got you, I've got this, we can do that. It's a action and a movement that feels so nice, doesn't it? Just putting
Yeah.
hands on your chest. And often in various kind of meditations or groups I run, I'm saying like hand on the chest, hand on the belly, and I'm saying give yourself a
Yeah.
hug as well.
Mhm.
That's just get yourself all cozy and hugged up and loved up
Mhm.
by
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
allowing our intuition and stuff to, come through. And a lot of the times people are like, there's that, well, how do I trust myself? How does my intuition come through? And again, it's the same thing of, what's the fear there, and holding ourselves, in that. It's always the same thing when we're trying to get it right. There is fear there. There is something that we're scared of. So I that's why it's so powerful, because it's like, okay, but like, I've got you. I'm gonna be there. And for a lot of people, they've never actually said that to themselves. They've never actually said like I've got you. I know that was hard. I know that was painful. I know you got hurt before. I'm here. I got you. And I think we can't say that, because within all of us, there's a scared part of us. There's,
oh yeah, quite normal.
normal, healthy, needed, required, essential. It's not
Yeah.
going to go away. So we need to start accepting that and actually working with it rather than working against it, because it's not going away. Like, we need it, So let's build on that.
Fantastic. Gosh, thank you so much, Kirsty.
Oh, thank you, Jane.
Before we go, would you like to do, I'm going to do a meditation at the end, but we've still got quite a bit of time. Would you like to do just a little piece to help the audience to just, I don't know, step into their truth a little bit more, or their heart, or,
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'd love to. Thank you.
fantastic.
I'd love to do that. So if you want to put your hand on your heart and then put one hand on your sacral, and just take a nice deep breath. And I want you to just come into your heart and everything we've been saying. I want you to just take that on board. And I want you to just say to yourself, I've got you. And I want you now to release any agenda that you have with yourself. And just be with yourself. Notice when you're trying to get something or get somewhere, and that's all okay, and it's all required, and it's all essential, and all makes sense. But just for this moment, I want you to just take any agenda off yourself and just be with yourself. And just show up for yourself in a way that you've never shown up for yourself before. And I want you to just see yourself. And what does your heart or your inner child or whatever you resonate with want to say to you? Just be with that. I want you to just listen, pay attention. It might come through right now. It might come through later today, tomorrow. But when you pay attention, it will always come through. What does your heart want you to know? What does it need? I want you to just say to yourself, I've got you. You can almost imagine yourself as like a younger version of you. You can visualize or feel whatever works for you. And I want you to just give them love. I want you to show them what it's like for somebody to show up with them without an agenda, just being there. Seeing them as they are. Embracing them, celebrating them, loving on them, seeing them in their entirety, in their perfect creation. In a world where we've been taught to judge ourselves and to wrong ourselves, there was no mistake in the making of you. I want you to see them and to see them truly, to see their value. I want you to think about right now knowing your value, seeing it. Sometimes we don't see it. Things that are actually priceless, we forget to see it. So your heart, your ability to care, your touch, your words, all of these things are priceless. And we devalue them. And we think we're not enough. And that we don't have enough to offer, but you do. You're more than enough. In the best possible way. So say anything to yourself that you need to hear, any words that you need to hear. Give yourself love and grace and compassion and celebrate you. And remind yourself what a great job you're doing. And I want you to remember to do that all throughout today, tomorrow, this week. And to really, really work on that and embody that. And to really see your value in the ways that you've never seen it before. And when you're ready, take a deep breath and slowly come back to me.
Thank you so much, Kirsty. That was
Thank you. I hope it came through all right. My screen kept going off, but I think you got me all.
Yeah, I could definitely hear everything. Yeah, it was beautiful. So I had a lovely little journey then. I have a dragon in my back garden, obviously, because I'm a modern witch. And yeah, had a lovely time talking to my dragon then, and he helped clear any blocked negative energy vibrations within the home and the boundaries and within us and our pets. Oh, it was lovely. And then all of a sudden I was doing the okie dokie.
Oh, I absolutely love that, and I really love that you've shared it. And that's the kind of thing we do in my world. They're the kind of like meditations and experiences and things we go through. And it's always intuitive. Like there was just, on the spot. It's just whatever needs to come through will always come through. And again, that's the like trusting ourselves, piece. But yeah, it will always come through.
It is that. It's definitely a level of trust, isn't it? I remember, say, the first workshop I planned many moons ago, it was so regimented.
is in the beginning, isn't it? Because you just,
But
yeah.
now people say, oh, what are you going to do? Oh, we'll do an intro and then we'll do this and that and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's always fantastic.
yeah, that's why now, just like say, I do it intuitively. I really think that's where the magic comes, because when we're like trying to control it, and again, that's all the fear and stuff, which is all human, happens for all of us. We need to just normalize that. But I really think the shifts and the healing and the things is when we work intuitively, and it's just, I think we just can't underestimate the power of that.
100%. Thank you
I love
so much
thank
for joining us today on Stay Sane with Jane, episode 24. Please, if you have loved this, please like and share, and also check out kirstydee.com, or also Kirsty Dee on Facebook and Instagram for kind of all of your intuitive emotional wellness needs.
Thank you, Jane. And if people do share it, tag me in it and I will reshare it and
definitely
celebrate you.
Yay!
So,
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Thank you for today.
Pleasure. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Stay Sane with Jane, the show that helps you and your business to thrive, not just survive. Tune in each week as Jane connects with guests in the wellness, business and publishing worlds, bringing you the most up-to-date training, techniques, healing and guidance. Hello and welcome. We have just had an amazing interview on Stay Sane with Jane, and now we are shifting into the Minditation sessions. So today we're going to be tuning in to a breathing technique, affectionate breathing. So we've really spoken about our intuitive wellness and our emotions on episode 24 of Stay Sane with Jane. So now we're going to be tuning in to our breath. So let's begin with bringing kind awareness to where you're at right now, how you feel in your physicality, and if there are any emotions that are coming up for you right now in this space. Bring kind awareness to any positive or negative impact stories that you believe in regards to yourself, other people, the world around you. And just remember that there are people out there right now feeling similarly about life, just as you. So you're here right now with me. It's time to get comfy as we start. So obviously, if you are driving whilst listening to this podcast, now's not the time to do this breathing exercise, but you can come back to it. So start by finding a comfortable position. This could be in a chair or meditation cushion. You might even try lying on the floor with your limbs spread slightly out, feeling completely relaxed. But only choose that one if you're not too tired, because otherwise you will fall into a deep sleep. Okay, now you're in that beautiful, comfortable position. We're going to start. Let's tune in to your body, getting in touch with your body. Notice how your feet feel, your legs, your seat, your trunk, your shoulders, your head. Just get in touch with your body right here, right now. Noticing any sensations you feel, tingling, throbbing, heaviness, space. Whether those sensations are pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, it's fine. It's just time to get in touch with what you're physically feeling right now. I invite you to take 3 deep breaths to let out any tension from the day, filling up the lungs, feeling them expand, the belly expand, and then letting that breath and tension out of the body. And when you've finished those 3 breaths, allow your breathing to just return to normal. And see if you notice where you feel the breath most strongly. It may be as it enters and exits your nostrils, or perhaps as it enters and exits your chest, or as your abdominal rises and falls. No one spot is better than the other. Just notice where you feel your breath most strongly. Again, not trying to control the breath. Slow it down. Your body knows how to breathe itself. Just relax and let your breathing be natural. I invite you to adopt a little half smile, very, very tiny, just so the corners of your mouth curl up just a little bit. Notice how that makes you feel when your face adopts this position of contentment and peace, happiness with the present moment. Your mind will naturally wander. It's very normal, very human. Just notice when your mind wanders. This is a moment of mindfulness. Going back to the breath and the smile on your face. Letting the breath soothe and comfort your body, releasing any tension here or there. noticing the feelings of affection generated by your half smile. Or perhaps you have your hand over your heart, getting in touch with the feelings of warmth there. And gently return your breath. Kindness being breathed in and out. As we slowly end this short meditation session, I invite you to come back to that smile on your face and shift the body, starting to wake up the body. The eyes might flicker open and the smile stays there on your face. As you stretch and shift and yawn, it's been an absolute pleasure to help you place that smile upon your face and bring some affectionate breathing into your life. My name is Jane Scanlon, and it's been an absolute pleasure to guide you through this session today.